Hello everybody, welcome to the Dragyn's Den. This is your mythical dragon here with another podcast episode. This episode this week is going to be a little interesting. I've been procrastinating, working on a few personal projects and a speech for next week. And I figured, you know what, I don't have anything super scheduled, and with an upcoming move in a month basically from now, I just need a one-off for this week, just to kind of, yes, so I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about some projects I've worked on through Toastmasters. So I know I was going to take a good break from Toastmasters for the podcast and all that stuff, but these projects I've done over the last month really have been really eye-opening, and maybe this will give you guys some motivation to look into what these things are for yourself, and maybe you can do these projects too, just to see how it helps you, how you feel, how you think, and yeah, talk about it with a friend, talk about it with me. It's really cool when we start diving into things to understand ourselves and make ourselves better people. That's all we really want to do in this world. So without further ado, I'm going to explain the structure of the podcast to you guys really quickly, and hopefully through me reviewing these projects and the things I've worked on over the last month can help me kind of brainstorm my next speech. So here we go. The structure of the podcast. I'm going to talk about a project I worked on in Toastmasters for my level 3. It's called Understanding Your Emotional Intelligence. So I'm going to go into how Toastmasters defines emotional intelligence and how they've set it up, what the project was, and how my speech went with it, because I've completed this project fully. The next part of this podcast, we'll be going through my most recent project called Focus on the Positives. So as you can see, these personal projects I've been working on through Toastmasters has to do with understanding my emotions, how I deal with emotions and that kind of thing, plus taking those and that understanding and turning it into some positivity and gratitude and things like that. Some really important things for us to really use in our daily lives, especially still in a crazy pandemic where, let's just say, things are not really getting easier yet. So there's that. And then the last part will be me really rambling about this speech, because I am struggling to write it, which is really weird. Normally I complete a project and I'm good to go, but this week I've been like, that sounds dumb. That doesn't sound authentic. How do I do this? So we will talk it all out. This is a podcast, so might as well. So let's begin with the first part of the podcast. I have hit level 3 in Toastmasters, so a quick little review. Toastmasters, you become a member and you get a free pathway of your choosing, and there's lots to choose from, like engaging humor, presentation mastery, dynamic leadership, motivational strategies, which is my pathway, and you work through it. There are 5 levels until you complete the pathway. I've done level 1 and 2 completely, and now I'm on level 3. And I'm apologizing for sniffles. The allergies have been really weird lately, so my apologies. And so the first project for my level 3 is Understanding Your Emotional Intelligence. So the way Toastmasters does their pathways is to set up some competencies, define the key terms, what elements you need to focus on when it comes to the project, and that sort of deal. So I'm just going to read out to you guys everything that I wrote and how I interpreted it, basically. So the competencies for this project was to learn the primary elements of emotional intelligence. So we don't go into the full breadth and depth of emotional intelligence. There's more research to be done and things to look into it. So I recommend it if you feel like what I explained to you in this podcast isn't enough. Another competency is to assess your emotions honestly. which can be hard because sometimes you don't want to admit how your emotions happen or what triggered them. But this project taught me how to do that. Determine how to appropriately express your emotions. That was a huge thing to work on. Display understanding of the importance of optimism in relation to motivation. So there's that. How do you regain motivation? Well, you have to have a little bit of optimism or hope in that kind of organization or the way to get yourself motivated again. And then discover techniques for increasing empathy. So that's what I had to work on when it came to this project. So what is emotional intelligence? Well, it is your ability to understand and manage your feelings to self-motivate. It requires the ability to discern how others feel and respond to their emotions appropriately. So if someone comes up to you crying, you might not want to laugh at them, or you might not want to get angry at them. It depends on the situation, of course, but just for example, think about this. If someone did come to you crying, what would you do? How would you respond? And then the next step would be, did I respond in an appropriate way? Did I help the person? Did I not help the person? And you begin to learn more about yourself through doing these reflective practices. And another part of the emotional intelligence is to communicate more effectively and develop meaningful relationships. Haven't done that yet. I don't have any meaningful relationships, really. Well, that's a lie. I have a few, but did I get more of those in my life recently? And from this project? Not so much, but everything is a work in progress. And now there are 5 key elements to emotional intelligence. You have to have self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. So if any one of those things you're like, what, do I have that? What is it? This might be a good thing for you to look up and research for yourself. I know it helped me, even social skills too, because let's be honest, how many of us have become a hermit during this pandemic? I put both hands up. I know you can't see it, but literally both hands are up because I don't know how to talk to anyone anymore, and I've become a turtle in a shell hiding. So there's that. Oh, my nose. Okay. So, you know you have high emotional intelligence when individuals are quicker to recover from unhappy experiences. Something bad happens and you can quickly kind of use some of these things that I've talked about to recover quickly or more quickly from it. You won't let it linger and keep you down forever. People, when they practice emotional intelligence more and kind of develop it, they are less vulnerable to anxiety. Wouldn't that be great? Having less anxiety in your life? Sign me up. And channel negative emotions in a positive way. So that's just a really good point. This is also why I chose the Focus on the Positives project, the second one that I'll be talking about, because I realized through this project that I have a lot happening in my life that can either really quickly bring me up, but also very quickly bring me down. And trying to channel that negativity or those downs into positivity or motivation or gratitude and these things is a really good practice to have. So when I read that on the project, I was like, oh my god, yes please, I need this in my life. And if you have high emotional intelligence, you have improved compulse control, abstract reasoning, long-term planning, and working memory. It means you have all of that. Now, I'm really good at long-term planning and working memory. Those two things I'm pretty good at. But compulse control and abstract reasoning, nah. Because I try. I'll be like, well, everything happens for a reason, and that's that. It's okay. I can accept this. But then my brain goes, but what if this thing that happened like years ago is the reason that I did it? Oh my God, I set myself up for failure, and then boom, I spiral quite quickly. So when it comes to abstract reasoning and just accepting it, no, I'm not quite there. It's still a work in progress. So, the primary emotions that one feels are usually the emotions that you first feel, like you're very felt first, and they're the ones that should be the most considered. So, think about a complex situation, like let's say, oh goodness, a complex situation. I don't want to use a breakup, but I guess I can use a breakup. There are so many emotions that you feel during a breakup, right? It's like sadness, anger, disappointment, betrayal, a multitude of emotions. But the primary emotions are the ones that you felt first. Things that really stand out to you, and they're the most present in the moment that you're noticing them. So these primary emotions can be fear, sadness, surprise, happiness. So let's say you win an award at work. You would feel happiness and maybe surprise. Those would be your primary emotions, the very first two things you feel. Then you'd start to feel other things like gratitude, joy, pride, all these things. So primary emotions are things that cannot be controlled. They are usually evolutionary and experienced by everyone, regardless of cultural experience. So, across the globe, everyone will feel these things at one point in their life. And it is across the globe. So everyone knows sadness. Everyone knows fear. Everyone in the world understands happiness and surprise. That's kind of a comforting feeling if you think about it. Primary emotions, something we should really look into, because if everyone feels them, maybe we should know them and be more empathetic to others. Yeah. So usually, after the first big burst of the primary emotion, your feelings do tend to change, and they can do this in very different ways. They can soften or evolve into something else, get like bigger or worse. For example, let's think about the breakup scenario. Maybe at first you feel a deep sadness. You're mourning the loss of the relationship. Then creeps in the anger, like, how dare they? They hurt me, they ruined me, and it evolves into something bigger. And then eventually it'll soften. And it'll just, that's how primary emotions tend to go. They'll evolve quickly into something bigger, and then they will soften. Like, I feel sad, but I accept it. So there's that kind of, a little bit of acceptance and content in that idea. And these emotions that I talked about here, when they evolve or change from the primary, are your secondary emotions. So these are feelings that grow from or combine with the initial or primary emotion. There are a vast list of emotions, and some of these are like anger, frustration, disappointments, humor. People make jokes out of situations all the time. Contentment, as I mentioned with the breakup example, and excitement. And primary emotions can also be secondary emotions. Think about it. Like I said in the example, a promotion at work or an award at work. You're so happy, and then more comes out of that. You're excited, you are very happy, maybe you crack a joke and you have some humor with it. And so all of these things happen all at once. What's really key about these secondary emotions is that each individual has the ability to control or mitigate these. So you actually have the ability to think. I know it's hard, guys, thinking, especially at that time of night that I'm recording this. Difficult. But there are ways you can do it. And that's what I liked about this project, is realizing that, oh, I have this emotion because this happened. Now I can choose how to respond. It's a very cool way to look at situations in your daily life. When you start doing these things, it leads to that element of self-awareness. So understanding both of your primary and secondary emotion are key to also knowing how emotional responses affect you as a person. Recognizing what you can control or change and what you are able and are unable to alter is an important step in developing your emotional intelligence. Very important. It took quite a bit of this project to get into this stage, like near the end of the 14 days. So I guess I can get into this now. I have a lot to go through here, but I might actually just we'll see where it goes. But the project here, so I had to go through all of this information, write it down, internalize it, and set up a plan for how I would track my emotions for 14 days in a journal. And it was interesting because at first I just listed the things that happened. I felt this is what happened to make me feel this, and this is how I responded. It took almost about 9, 10, 11 days into the project where I can start to realize that, oh, this shitty thing happened, but I can respond in this way to make me feel better. I can respond in this way to be more motivated or more productive. So it's a really interesting project. So when I get into it a bit more here after I read out a few more pages of information, it might be a fun project for you guys to try as well. Keeping all of this information I am delving out in mind. So how do you understand your responses? So, understanding your responses can be developed and bolstered by reviewing your feelings at regular intervals over the course of several days. What I had to do for this project. So the first step, recognize and name the emotion as you experience it. Okay, my eyes are watering, my breathing is heavy. Okay, I feel sad. Okay, that's the first step. I feel sad. Second step is to identify the reason for your response. Okay, I'm crying, I'm sad because I feel I am very lonely and I haven't talked to anybody today. Boom. Just going through those 2 steps can allow you to be aware of yourself, and you can actually also begin to build an understanding of others and how they feel too. If you see someone acting in a certain way, it'll allow you to pause and think, okay, what is happening for them to react this way or to have this emotional response? It's a really interesting way to view the world and something to definitely keep working on. I tell that to myself mainly, not you guys, but myself too. Alright. Then becomes the idea of self-regulation. So after you develop your self-awareness and you do those first 2 steps for a while and you work on it and understand how you function as a human, you can now prepare to check and change your responses and your response patterns by self-regulation. So self-regulation is the process of evaluating your emotions and managing or challenging them. Not challenging, channeling them in a productive way. So this manifests in the ability to choose responses carefully, regardless of the situation. So I will have a few examples of this in my journal. I will read out a few days as an example of how you want to phrase it or how to structure it for yourself if you'd like to do this. And you can see how I began to self-regulate. So individuals are and can check their secondary emotions and then adjust their responses to them. It's a very hard thing to do. We've been told in our lives and through lots of different things, you need to feel the way you feel, let it out, do what you need to do. But sometimes that's not healthy or good. So yes, feel the emotion, let it happen, do what you need to do, but then find a way to respond in a way that will give you something productive out of it. So maybe self-awareness will come out of it. Maybe it'll motivate you to try something new or try something tomorrow to change your situation. Something like that will come out of it. And it's hard to do, but it's a nice thing to have happen when you can do it. I promise you. It's been a nice thing to have in my life, is a little more self-regulation. So, one part of this project that I really recommend doing for yourselves if you want to get into it is focusing on that. Okay, I feel this emotion. According to what I've researched or looked at, it's my primary emotion, and that's okay. How do I develop it into a secondary emotion that will be productive or good, or be a better response than how I normally would respond? That's how I did it. That's how I chose to phrase it and look at it. Then there's empathy. We all know what empathy is. It's that whole idea of trying to put yourself in someone else's shoes. It's very true. But it's also a little bit more than that. Because empathy requires the understanding of emotions and the impact of emotions on the person experiencing them. The core of empathy is knowing what it would be like to feel the same way or experience the same emotions as someone else. Maybe you wouldn't get sad after spilling your coffee. How dare you, first of all, coffee. You spent money on that coffee. I would be sad, but let's say you're just like, oh well, I spilled coffee, I'll go buy another one later. Well, if you do see someone, maybe later on in the same coffee shop, who does spill their coffee and just breaks down and cries, maybe you can't understand that, but maybe you've seen that situation happen and going, oh, maybe they've had a bad day. What are all the things that led up to that moment where they just break? And so that's empathy. Try not to judge people for having a emotional response, but instead look at them and being like, what got you here? What happened? That's empathy. And the value of empathy is in developing relationships that are based on trust. Super key. And when it comes to trust, it means you are very good at listening. You give people the space they need to talk. In my life right now, I don't have that quite often. I'll need to go somewhere or talk to someone, and then it becomes all about them. Or it'll become all about something they enjoy. And it's like, but I'm the one that reached out. I'm the one that said, hey, anyone around? I need to talk. And it's really frustrating when that happens. For me, I'm really good at listening. Even if that happens to me and someone will steamroll me or will basically go on and on and on about themselves, I'll be frustrated, but I'll listen. I'll read it. I'll respond to it. Whatever the person needs, I'll do it. The thing is, this part of empathy, not a lot of people have for me. And that was a really tough realization that has led to some decisions and healthy responses for me to make in the last week or so. I'll get to that in a moment, but listening is super important. Your responsiveness. Do you respond with the constantly over positive phrases like, oh, that's awful, but you'll be okay. It'll be alright. We're all gonna make it. Are you that kind of a person? Did that response truly help the other person? It's thinking about these things too that really is a part of empathy as well. Sometimes that person needed to hear those things. Absolutely. Sometimes though, you have to ask the person, what do you need from me after you've told me this? Asking something like that is super important, because if you respond in the wrong way, that's never a fun thing to feel for the other person. For you, you're probably like, hey, I helped them, great, they feel better. But you don't know how they feel inside. So empathy is a very complex thing, and it takes a little bit to develop. But using some of these things that I suggest might help you. So yeah, understanding the needs, desires, and skills of the people you lead will help you build a strong, cohesive team that successfully accomplish goals. That's more for like a workplace or a leadership thing. But you can apply it to friendships, right? Understanding the needs and desires of your friends and in your relationships, and having them understand your needs and desires is a beautiful thing. And then it leads to social skills. So when you start doing all these things, so understanding your responses, step 1, identify your emotions, step 2, what caused them, building that self-awareness, eventually leading to self-regulation. What do you do after you realize these emotions, and what kind of response you can have afterwards? And then practicing empathy in your daily life. Doing these things will actually help enhance your social skills, because you can create more meaningful relationships and bonds and connections with others if you stop talking and listen. Or if you haven't told someone a lot about the stuff going on, you ask if they can listen and give you that space. It works both ways, and when it can happen, it is really great. I have to really shout out Spam here for a little bit, because he's been on the podcast for the anime episodes a few weeks back. Well, we do this every week. Well, not so much right now, he's on a big trip, but we always go through our weeks. So we usually hang out once a week. So we'll go through the week with each other, hang out, and get everything out. Get everything off our chests, the things, the worries, the concerns of the world, all those things, and it's very equal in both. And then we give each other space after to ask each other questions. It's not always a perfect thing. Sometimes Spam doesn't have a lot going on, so his week is quite short and the updates are kind of like that's it. And then I ask my questions and boom, our updates are done in half an hour. Sometimes it's a lot longer. So what's good though for us is that we have that space. We have this empathy and this really great connection because we do these things for each other. It's great. It's really beautiful, and I'm getting emotional right now. My primary emotion right now is sadness, because I really do miss him. Because he's been on this trip and we haven't had these weekly calls in a bit, so there's that. But it really is great. And if I could have more people like that in my life, even just 1 or 2 more people, it would be really great. Yeah, think about it. Food for thought. Food for thought. All right. And boom, the last part here is self-evaluation. A huge part to this emotional intelligence part, because you get to go through the process of strengthening your self-awareness. So evaluation, your self-evaluation in the emotional intelligence sense, is the sense about understanding and adjusting when necessary and not criticizing yourself. So you have to recognize the patterns you have been in and the ways you view the world. And instead of beating yourself up about it, it's more of like, what can I do to adjust this? What can I do to change? So this is what I had to do for the project, basically, for 14 days. Every single day for 14 days. Review and keep a record of your feelings and responses, so you can actually start identifying these patterns. Begin by noting what went well in any situation, as this project is about growth, and focusing on your efforts instead of judging or ridiculing yourself. So you know what went well, how you felt, and how you responded, and identify places where you would like to make changes or how you would like to respond better. Oh, my nose. Make a note to focus on certain behaviors, like listening as you move through your day. Note the times when you were able to concentrate on what was being said to you, how you could respond in an active way, in an effective way, and the results of that effort. So the way I did this was I set up my journal to go through, list all of your emotions that you had throughout the day when they happen. So usually this would be like in my phone. I'd be like, I feel this way because of this. So then I'd have two things said on my phone whenever I had an emotion. I'd have my emotions, then I'd have the situations or the stimulus for the emotions. Then the third part would be my responses to both. So my journal had those three sections: the emotions, the stimulus for the emotions, and how I responded. And I tracked my emotional intelligence in this way for 14 days straight. My gosh, a lot happened in those 14 days. Let's get into it a little bit. Because I have no idea what just fell out of my book, but that's okay. So, let's start with day one, shall we? Because, why not? This is way back in April. So, it's been a little while, but yeah. So, I can't remember exactly everything that happened way back when, but this is why you keep a journal. Maybe it'll trigger a memory. So, April 5th, 2021. This is day one of this tracking period. The emotions felt were loneliness, frustrated, ill, contentment, sad. So just think about those emotions right there. What do you think happened? What could cause these things? I'll let you think about it. Make some guesses. Alright, you locked in? Let's see what actually happened here. So there was a lack of notice or care from friends or family. I remember this. I had just gotten the first dose of the vaccine just a couple days before this. And I felt like my family didn't care, didn't notice, didn't ask about it. No reaction, no nothing. Not a fun feeling. And social media. I've been very frustrated with social media and Discord and things like that, where I'll make a tweet and I'll be like, cool, people will probably see it. I asked a question or I wanted some feedback, and hopefully people will respond, and they get nothing. Always nothing. So that hasn't been very fun to experience, and it was really, really bad on how that affected me way back in April. Now, not so much. I pop on and go, yeah, that tweet flopped. It's fine. So already this project helps with that, more so than I could ever have expected. And then, yeah, I had no energy or mental focus, and that had to do with, like, when I said I was feeling ill, I still had weird stomach issues. A couple days after the first dose of the Moderna vaccine. My stomach is all wonky and I didn't eat very well until I think until the next day, April 6th. So it was a weird time, but I then decided how I felt contentment at the end of the day was because I went for a walk and I cleared my head and I got myself my favorite coffee because for some reason the Tim Hortons up here still had pumpkin spice latte, guys, and I went for it. I gouged it and that made me feel better. So, responses to the emotions or stimuli. So, what happened after these things happened? So, instead of going away from social media, thinking about it, I should have, I ended up just obsessively checking it. I was on it constantly going, oh come on, how come no one's answering my question? Or how come no one liked it? Or how come no one responded it? Or how come no one shared my post or my tweets? And how come no one promoted what I was trying to create or do? And I obsessively checked on it. I kept going back and back and back, hoping for responses and not getting any, which is not good. I worked at a slower pace to deal with the illness, so that's no energy or mental focus there. I just chose to work at a slower pace and do my best, which was a pretty good response to that, now that I think back to it. Let's see here. And then when I went for a little walk, I came back, felt better, and had a good night's sleep. So that was the first day. So some healthy responses to the things going on and the emotions that I had. Others, not so much. Does it get better in this journal? We're about to find out. Let's go 6 days later. Emotions are awful. I'm just gonna say that, emotions are awful. I meant allergies are awful. Let's just... Editing will be a blessing for this video. Anyway. Oh yes, this was 6 days later. Sorry, I read the page to figure out what was going on here. So let's go through this. So the emotions that I felt this day. April 11th. Proud, excited, happy, and respected. Sounds like a pretty good day. What happened? Well, the stimulus. Teaching 2 really great classes on OutSchool. I couldn't wait to call a friend, probably spam, now that I think about it. Having a good time with a friend. Maybe that's a spam or Austin. I can't remember. Austin's from Toastmasters, so it could be either or. And having my opinions and thoughts about a situation being understood by a friend. I'm pretty sure it's spam. Now that I think about more of this, it could be Austin too. Both of those guys were pretty good in my life. Well, let's see here. So the responses to these were, I prepared even more for future classes. I had that boost. I had that motivation. I was like, okay, I had 2 really good classes. I got like 5 out of 5 star review. I feel great. Let's keep scheduling more. Let's keep building this momentum up. Let's keep teaching more and more and more. And then when my friend called and we got into the call together, I greeted him excitedly and gave my full attention to him. And then I enjoyed the time and didn't let myself worry about anything else. And I smiled. So we're 6 days in, and on April 11th, I chose to be motivated, productive, and had a really good day. I I created this. This was a product of already keeping track of this emotions and going, you know what? This morning, it'll be a good day. Yes. Pretty cool. Now, let's see. We'll go to the very last day of this project. Yeah, here it is. Very last day of the project, April 19th. So April 5th, April 11th, April 19th. Here we go. The emotions I felt that day. Motivated, productive, relaxed, distracted, concerned, and content. So a little up and down, but mostly fairly good. The stimulus for these were I woke up early to get a lot done and I felt well rested. I took care of phone calls and important info for the day. Played games and focused on the gameplay a lot. Ah, there's the distracted. There we go. I got right into that Animal Crossing, guys. Whew, I am into that game. And then, oh, concern, right. So April 19th was 2 weeks after my first dose, and suddenly I had a really weird skin reaction to it. And so the injection site from the vaccine swelled up again. Very weird. It was very odd. I was like, I don't think this is normal. How did I respond to these things? So I felt I did enough. I felt I did good enough work-wise to enjoy a break in the afternoon, so that morning productivity felt great. And I rewarded myself with some games in the afternoon. Nothing wrong with that. If I had everything done that I needed done that day, why not? After noticing the weird reaction on my injection site, I made the plan to call the pharmacy in the morning because they were closed at the time of observation. And then I chatted with Spam. I know it was Spam because I've texted him freaking out going, did you have any weird skin reactions to like your injection? He's like, no, it went away. And I was like, well, let me tell you what's going on. But having a weird silly conversation with him eased that anxiety for a while, and I went to bed with very little anxiety. That's what I wrote here. So, boom. Had that weird concern. The flare came, made the plan to call the pharmacy and talk to a friend about it. You know what I normally would have done in that situation? Probably lay in my bed, overthinking about it, overanalyzing it, worrying, probably Googling things and thinking I was gonna die. I would have done all that. But instead, I didn't. I kept it hush-hush. I monitored it, made sure it didn't get worse or acted up in any way, and turns out it was just a weird sort of reaction from just the needle itself. Not the vaccine. It just like was the needle itself, just causing some inflammation again. So it wasn't anything super serious. I am not dead. And I responded in a very good way. So that was the emotional intelligence project I've done. And I keep working on this. It's not something I've journaled in that way since the project. But every once in a while I catch myself going, okay, whoa. You are getting yourself worked up. You are, again, maybe obsessing over social media again. What do you do to stop? Get yourself out of this spiral that you're in. And I'll go do something else. I'll put on an exercise video, get my endorphins pumping. I'll go read a book, play Animal Crossing, text a friend, play a game. I will go do something else instead. So it's not perfect. I'm not perfect. But it was a really cool project to start. And when I do catch myself thinking in this frame, again, in this framework, I give myself a little pat in the back like, hey, you're understanding yourself better. Good job. So that was the Emotional Intelligence Project. Now, I have a lot of paper in this notebook that keeps flying out everywhere. Oh well. Now the next project I'm working on is called Focus on the Positives. I'm going to get to all my paperwork here. Here we go. So for this project, oddly enough, very similar to the Emotional Intelligence Project, where I had to keep a journal for 14 days and track certain things every single day. For Focus on the Positives, though, it was more about really recognizing what went well in your day, recognizing what didn't go so well in your day, but then pausing and stopping with that negativity or the things that went wrong and trying to reframe it or see the good in it. And after you do that practice, it is write 3 things you were grateful for. I'm losing my voice, I'm sorry. 3 things you were grateful for. Because, yeah, that's exactly what the project is. Focusing on the positives, not writing down every negative thing ever and then closing your book. That wouldn't be the good project. That's what we had to do. So yeah, keep a daily journal to record your moods and attitudes for a minimum of 2 weeks, noting when you feel positive or negative, your successes and efforts, and the 3 things for which you are grateful. And then at the end, you have to record and evaluate any changes in your behavior or the behavior of those around you from this project in a 2 to 3 minute report or 5 to 7 minute speech. So my choice. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. So the first thing you have to do is stay positive. So you have to really pay attention to your day and your thoughts and your emotions and really think back at the end of the day, okay, well, that thing went pretty good. This happened, it happened quite well. And recognize that and give yourself that kind of boost because you need it. The second step here is identifying your negative thoughts. Recognize the patterns, so you don't do this right away, reframing the negativity to positivity. You just start with identifying it, seeing your patterns, what causes it, all this negativity to come out of you. And then after a while, maybe partway into the project, halfway into the project, you begin to start using positivity. You start to go, okay, this was the negative thing that happened. How would I turn it into a positive moment, a positive thing? And then you get to do your gratitude at the end. Now, I will say this. One thing that I've kept from this project every day since I've stopped tracking the 14 days is the daily gratitude. Doing daily gratitude, even if it's just one thing you're grateful for every day, has a lot of benefits for you. You start to feel more enthusiastic, you feel more determined, attentive, energetic, you feel more perceptive to others. You have an improved outlook on the upcoming week or day or the following day. You are more likely to help someone with a personal problem and listen to them, that empathy again there. Offer emotional support, exercise regularly, which is super true. I'm actually back to exercising daily now that I think about it. Crazy. And have an improved attitude about life as a whole. I am not there yet, per se, but recent changes and things that have happened, I'm now seeing as benefits or positive things than when I first learned about them. I was so overwhelmed and stressed. So over time, it really, even those few things that I'm like, yes, absolutely, oh my God, I do that, comes from just practicing gratitude. Craziness. Gratitude is super important, and that's the one thing I'm trying to do with my speech now that I've done the fear tracking, is to really emphasize the gratitude part of it. Because, wow, I have these realizations here that, oh my gosh, I did get these benefits from gratitude. So I need to really practice this a bit. I have not done this yet though, that's okay. There's some extra projects here that I get to work on. So let's go through some days where I focused on the positive. Let's start with day 1. Oh gosh, where's my notebook? Here we go. Here we go. So focus on the positive. So this is a lot more recent, May 3rd. So I only just finished this project. And I'm really trying to... May 3rd. I thought I started May 2nd. 1 second, I might have forgotten a page. Nope. Okay. Alright, whoops. Alright, so focus on the positives. So the positives for May 3rd were, I enjoyed playing a game, I reached out to friends, went shopping, organized my desk in a much more practical way, and teaching a chaotic yet very fun D&D class. Pretty good positives for a day. Negatives, I couldn't find the creamer I wanted. Did get annoyed at an interaction with a supposed friend, and didn't like the background noise in my class. Fair, background noise is always annoying in any situation, so here's how I reframed it. So I went back into the journal and did like a little extra line for each point and wrote a positive about each one. So I couldn't find the creamer I needed. I got a new creamer to try and it was delicious. Heck yeah, by the way, chocolate mint creamer. If you want like a hot chocolate coffee, that's exactly what it is. Really delicious. I did get annoyed at interaction with a supposed friend. Oh, that's right. So I chose to go message others and how they cared about me and what they were saying over what this friend was saying. Do I remember the exact conversation? Not really. But I remember getting annoyed because I think I started to have the conversation and I wanted it to go like the way that I was headed. But then this one friend kept stealing the attention and others kept trying to help me and stay on topic. It was a mess, but I did focus on those people more than I did on the friend trying to steal the attention. And then the background noise, I wrote a note in my teaching journal to I came up with a strategy to tell the students that when it's not their turn, mute their mics so that background noise wouldn't interfere with what people were saying. And I would try to do this next class. Exactly what I wrote. Not too bad. And then the 3 things I was grateful for that day. I was grateful for reorganization and neatness. Grateful for new recipes that turned out good. And grateful for a friend reaching out to share small joys on his trip with me. Oh boy, guys, who is that? Hint, hint, wink, wink. Spam. In case you're wondering. Okay, so that was May 3rd. Let's go to May 9th. Oh yes, I do want to talk about this. So, May 9th, oddly enough, my uncle's birthday, so happy belated. The positives for that day, I stuck to a very key decision. I found my tribe of friends and enjoying some downtime by watching sitcoms. Yep, that definitely was me this May, and still to this day watching more sitcoms. There you go. So the negatives for this day. Friends guilt-tripping me about the decision I had made. I felt, it's so funny, I give myself moments of rest and relaxation, yet I still feel lazy. I hate that. And then negatives, ordering takeout despite trying to eat healthier. Yeah, that happened. But, so, how did I reframe it? About the friends guilt tripping me? I am proud of myself for still standing my ground in regards to my decision. What decision was this? Deleting my old Discord server. If you guys are a part of it and you have no idea what happened, I deleted it. I felt my mental health plummeting every single time that I would be online trying to start up conversations with anyone around, knowing that there were 70 people in my server online, any one of them could respond, and then having no responses until the next day. I couldn't deal with it anymore, and I had all these channels and all these interactive things planned, and none of it had been working for months. And I know that says a lot about me for deleting it, but I stood my ground. I wasn't going to let anyone guilt trip me in keeping it because it was really affecting me. You guys heard about me obsessing over social media and trying to get anyone to notice me. That's not healthy. So it wasn't an easy decision because I did feel the memories, and I often would flick back through every channel and text chat and just smile and giggle at what was being said and done. But then my mental health would crash when I realized, wow, the last conversation I had here, or tried to have here, was 4 months ago and no one responded. The last time I tried to do anything on this channel was last year and no one responded. You know, it was a lot of that, and it just really brought me down over and over again. So I deleted the server, and when I said I found my tribe, a few of us who reached out to me and were trying to tell me to keep my server, we compromised and we created a smaller friend server, like really, really small, for like just 5 of us, I think. Oh man, I could look it up right now, but there's just a few of us there, and we post whatever we want to post, and it feels a lot better to see that than what I was dealing with. So I stood my ground on that, and I'm happy with the compromise that was made. There we go. And then feeling lazy, I told myself that, you know what, you worked hard. You came up with a very tough decision. It mentally took you out. You needed the break. And that was the positive spin on that. You needed the break. You needed the rest. Good for you. And that really made me smile after. Even right now. As for ordering takeout, I literally I put, it was delicious and convenient with a question mark, and like, yeah, hell yeah, it was. That's really all that needs to be said there. And then the 3 things I was grateful for on May 9th. I was grateful for standing up for myself for once, believing in my decisions, and enjoying my downtime. So boom. Even if I did have that negative moment of feeling lazy, you can see how through the Emotional Intelligence Project and this project that I was able to, instead of let it keep me down and affect me negatively for the rest of the day like it usually would, I reframed my thoughts, reframed my focus, and was like, no, I need this downtime and I am genuinely enjoying it. This is a good thing. I am grateful for that. And I'm grateful for these projects. So, let's go to the last day of the project. Here we go. Yes, here it is. Alright. The last day of the project. Boom. May 17th. The positives for today. I completed all the tasks I planned for, enjoyed good food with a movie, Oh my god, that movie was really fucked up. That was just a few days ago, so I know. Made progress in my favorite game, Cuff Cuff, Animal Crossing, and worked out and felt great after. Really good positives for the day. The negative, I had only one negative for this day. Boom, 14 days of tracking all of this. And I finally got to a day where I only had one negative thought. And it was, again, a little bit related to social media and such. Feeling ignored and that no one wants to talk to me. It's still there, guys. I can't kick that completely. I'm working on it. But I think it'll always be there for a bit. And how did I reframe that? I said, well, people are often busy, but you still had a good day despite this lingering negativity. Which was true. I did have a really good day that day. That movie that I watched, by the way, is called Deadly Illusions. Creepy and messed up. Oh boy. But I did like the ending of it, so I recommend it for that. And the 3 things I was grateful for that day: productivity and feeling good about it, regaining my motivation, and completing things at my own pace. Something that we really need to cherish more often, I think. Instead of always rushing, going. No. Pause, take breaks, and do things at a pace that you are comfortable with. Super important. So that was that project. So I didn't reveal all the days, all 14 days of both projects, but you can start to see how some of that really started to change. And I feel way better after doing both of these projects, for sure. Now, last part here of this podcast, if I can find it here. I have so much paper, guys. You don't even know. Why did I give myself that much paper to write the speech? Probably because I'm struggling to write it. So now it comes to the speech. So after each project in Toastmasters, of course, you get to do a speech. So I know the title I want for it. It's Reframing Negativity into Gratitude. The gratitude part, again, I really stuck with it. And I still do it today. Like the things I was grateful for today, I physically kept up at work well. I completed all my tasks for the day. And I am grateful for the time to rest and relax. So even to this moment, 2 days after the project has ended, I am keeping up with it. And it feels really good. So, here's what I have for the speech so far. And I'm going to kind of word vomit where I plan to take it. Because I don't have it all written down yet. So here we go. Here's the truth. We all have thousands of thoughts a day. Most are stemmed from the things happening around us. For me, most of the time, I'm either daydreaming of better situations, an ideal life, or letting the pessimism settle in. It is difficult to break a habit. Mine being pessimism when the littlest things go wrong. The spiral begins, and suddenly I am episode 8 into another season of a new sitcom. Fortunately, with the Focus on the Positives project, it has helped me to begin to break me out of these spirals, sparked by the smallest of inconveniences, like being upset over leaving a mug of coffee untouched for hours. The premise for the project was to keep another journal for 14 days, tracking the positive or emotions or things that happen in a day, the negative things, as well as writing 3 statements of gratitude. In regards to the negative aspects of each day, I had to also find what was good about each one. This aspect of the project, the actual reframing your negative thoughts, into positivity or gratitude was the hardest part of this project. I have kept working on understanding my emotions from my last project, which made noticing the positives and working on daily gratitude surprisingly easy. However, shifting from accepting your emotions and the reasons they happen to now looking at your day through a more positive lens has left me confused at the beginning of this project. That's what I have so far. So what I plan on doing is going into that confusion a bit, and it was true, because understanding your emotions was to state it, what happened, and how you responded to it. Boom. In this project, though, it was taking those bad moments and going, yep, they happened, you responded this way, but what was the good about it too? You have to recognize that part as well. So I plan on going into that a bit more in detail and kind of stating that, starting off again with, when it comes to looking at both projects and how they connect together, it was this idea of reframing your negativity into something more positive was the thing I had to relearn. I didn't know how to do it at first. In fact, when I first started this journal, I only stated the positives, negatives, and gratitude and moved on to the next day. It was when I was about 4 or 5 days in that I realized that I had to go back. I had to go and look at these negative moments and say, what was good about it? What are you grateful for in that moment, despite it being difficult or not good per se? And then it took a lot of practice, and eventually though I got into it, and I really got into it. In fact, when it came to the last day of the project, I realized that, wow, I worked so hard on being a positive, grateful person that I only had one negative thing to say about that whole day. And even that one negative thing didn't last for a long time. It lasted briefly. That's what I've got planned for at least a little bit of the speech going forward. How to conclude it? No idea yet, but maybe next week I'll share it with you guys, my final speech product, and preparation for the big speech presentation on the following Saturday, the 29th. Let me know your thoughts about the projects and the things that I'm working on. I think I have a decent start to my speech now, but I am feeling a little lost in direction, so if you guys want to provide feedback, please do. Again, apologies for the sniffling and all that. It's night, my window's open. That's all I gotta say about allergies. But I hope this was interesting and you guys were intrigued a little bit about my journey with these two projects, and look it up yourselves. And you might be surprised on how tracking your emotions for 14 days straight can start to really open your eyes a bit about some of the things that cause your emotions to heighten or heighten or lessen, and how positive they get and how negative they get. It's really interesting. So I encourage you to maybe do this yourselves and let me know how it goes and what you think. That will be all for now, so I hope you enjoyed your drinks or felt cozy by the fire, and I will see you guys in the next episode, which was Stardew on Monday. I am looking forward to more Stardew. We're getting very, very close to winter. We'll see how that goes. So until then, bye-bye.